One midnight phone call from Dana White just detonated the welterweight division, crowning Jack Della Maddalena, luring Islam Makhachev toward double champ glory, and turning Belal Muhammad into an instant punchline. How did a single ringtone flip two weight classes on their heads? We here at MMA Desk keep you updated with the latest news on MMA and post a new video every day, so subscribe to not miss out, and let's dive right in. Jose Aldo, the featherweight monarch who once defended his WEC and UFC gold 7 straight times, who shut down Urijah Faber with crippling leg kicks, who survived Chad Mendez's wrestling maelstrom, who had been humbled in 13 seconds by a brash Irish left hand, yet rebuilt himself into a perennial contender, now squared off against Ayam Zahabi, a cerebral striker from the fabled Tristar lineage. For 15 minutes, Zahabi chipped, pivoted, and surged, firing stiff jabs that reddened the Brazilian's nose, framing with his lead hand to sneak elbows over the guard, and weathering the second-round flurry in which Aldo dug liver hooks that once upon a time would have folded mortal men, until the final horn froze both warriors in sweat-soaked stillness. Aldo's chest rose with the ragged rhythm of a man who understood every judge's number before it was read, and when the unanimous decision slid across the PA speakers, he took the mic with resigned serenity, murmuring that the competitive flame no longer scorched his lungs, that the endless dawn training runs felt heavier than the opponents across from him, and that tonight, under lights he once ruled like a sun king, the curtain would close. Max Holloway, the island-born marauder who twice dethroned Aldo using volume and pressure so relentless it seemed scripted, immediately tweeted pure aloha, calling the Brazilian a legend of legends, while Zahabi politely swatted away robbery claims by explaining that momentum, damage, and near finishes should matter, and that in the final minute, Aldo was the man stumbling backward on compromised legs. Fans in the cheap seats snapped tear-blurred selfies as Aldo bowed, acutely aware that they were witnessing a farewell on par with Shoguns in Curitiba or Andersons in Sao Paulo, a generational torch passing disguised as a regular co-main event. Yet the sport offers no pause button, and scarcely had Aldo's gloves hit the canvas before social media served another storyline. Grainy smartphone clips showing John Bones Jones wandering a cavernous Moscow soundstage where producers barked directions in staccato Russian. The greatest light heavyweight of all time, the man many still expect to define the heavyweight era, had accepted a coaching slot on ALF Reality, Russia's brash spin on The Ultimate Fighter, opposite Stockton's own chaos merchant Nate Diaz. Fans exploded with accusations that Jones was ducking interim champ Tom Aspinall, that the show was a marketing mirage to keep him out of harm's way, while Diaz's cult following memed how many F-bombs Russian censors could digitally bleep per episode. Meanwhile, half a world away inside Las Vegas's T-Mobile Arena.
If I'm being completely honest, I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him. You know, it's just like his fans have been so annoying. And obviously you don't get this far in a career being affected by fans or whatnot. But he's just...
Jack Della Maddalena quietly loaded a left hook that would detonate the entire welterweight hierarchy. The Perth native, whose professional debut ended in 14-second defeat but whose subsequent rise through Australia's regional circuit sharpened his boxing into surgeon's steel, met Belal, remember the name Muhammad, a cardio juggernaut riding a near-decade streak of smothering wins, defined by relentless double legs and suffocating fence control. Analysts forecast that JDM's crisp combos might land early, but would eventually drown beneath Belal's chain wrestling. Yet as round 1 bled into round 2, it became clear that the Aussie's takedown defense, anchored by staggered hips and a cunning inside whizzer, would nullify the grappler's plan A, leaving Belal to trade an open space where Jack's shovel uppercuts and short-angle pivots carved crimson streaks along the Chicagoan's cheekbones. By championship rounds, JDM's torso feints dictated tempo. Snippets of Aussie commentary from cageside bled through broadcast. He's painting canvases with 4-ounce brushes, and when the judges rendered their unanimous verdict,
that I was ready for anything he would have brought, so I was waiting for it, but he just didn't get close enough. And I think that people always underestimate me when they come back to my distance, my footwork, and they don't realize how hard it is to get a takedown on me until you're actually in there with me.
When you took this fight,
the octagon erupted. Cue ring announcers baritone trumpeting and cue cornermen leaping like kids freed from class. Cue Della Maddalena's blank-faced exhale that looked more like relief than euphoria. Minutes later, the still sweaty champion grabbed his phone and saw a thunderbolt tweet from lightweight kingpin Islam Makhachev. Time to become double champ. Inshallah, let's go. An 8-word proclamation that overnight turned matchmakers' whiteboards into scribbled chaos. JDM grinned during the post-fight scrum, promised to avenge Alexander Volkanovski's knockout loss in Abu Dhabi, and warned that Islam would taste power you can't wrestle. Dagestan's pride snapped back online. You are not Volk. I will show you different level. Keep my belt clean. Transforming a speculative super fight into a fixed point on the calendar in the minds of millions. Even before caffeine could jolt Monday morning into gear, Ian, the future Gary, slid onto Instagram with self-deprecating candor, admitting his prediction that Belal would chain wrestle the Aussie into exhaustion, aged about as well as warm milk, then pivoted to fantasy matchmaking. He proposed Carlos Prates versus Jeff Neal for a battle of southpaw sledgehammers, pitched champion Leon Edwards to finally face Michael Venom Page in a Birmingham versus London striking showcase, and cheekily inserted himself as contingency plan, promising to smoke JDM if Islam stayed at 155. Backstage, Della Maddalena's words reflected a wisdom older than his 27 years. He spoke about waking at 4 a.m. to sharpen footwork, about teammates who skipped weddings to hold pads, about studying Georges St-Pierre's transitions frame by frame on hotel Wi-Fi, and about believing beyond logic that the cream always rises no matter how deep it sinks in rankings. Just then his phone rang again. Dana White, raspy from a marathon event, bellowing congratulations and joking that Jack had single-handedly unclogged a division starved for fresh narrative juice.
Как ты считаешь, кто опаснее сейчас для Ислама Махачева? Арман Царукян или Илья Топурьев?
Мое личное мнение, не то чтобы там опасен, скажем так, более конкурентен. Я думаю, что Царукян. Я думаю, Арман посерьезнее боец, чем Топ.
Hunter Campbell chimed from speakerphone, promising to figure out the Islam collision, and the champ hung up laughing that he was saving the welterweight division, a phrase destined for t-shirts by sunrise. Yet nostalgia washed back into the spotlight when news broke, mid-scrum, reporters gasping, that Vitor the Phenom Belfort would headline the next Hall of Fame class. Cameras captured Belfort's tremble as he explained that recognition pursued for its own sake is hollow, that he chased greatness out of passion when MMA still fought for sanctioning, that he bled so future generations could live the ESPN era, and that he kept chasing spinning heel kick perfection long after critics dismissed him as TRT's poster child. His reflection turned cautionary. Do not covet applause, covet evolution. Across town, Valentina Bullet Shevchenko served her own masterclass in mindset, fresh off a unanimous dismantling of Manon Fiorot. Media asked if 37 signaled last call, and the Kyrgyz-Peruvian multi-time Muay Thai champ laughed, noting few 20-year-olds land spinning back kicks like hers or read distance with the same icy algorithm, insisting she would retire only when dawn training no longer felt like opportunity. Benoit, God of War, St. Denis added a dash of future blood to the stew by choking Kyle Prepolek unconscious with a suffocating rear naked choke, then calling out Mateusz Gamrot for a grappling clinic, Dan Hooker for a war of attrition, or Justin Gaethje for a fireworks display. Anyone ranked high enough to validate the ex-French Special Forces Commando's top 10 dreams. In Warsaw, Gamrot's manager took notes. In Denver, Gaethje half-smiled that trademark grin that telegraphs violent delight, and then came the inevitable aftermath swirl. Belal Muhammad, his face a mosaic of purple and yellow, posted, Allah's plan is the best plan, paired with a vow to rebound, while middleweight champ Dricus du Plessis lobbed a sarcastic, well done, just kidding, nudging an already raw wound. The full mount MMA comment section ignited as keyboard analysts dissected every angle.
Quote of making backs. I said, there are no backs between lions and men. This is another one from Achilles. And since he's standing across the hexagon, the octagon, is there no one else? Is there no one else?
Rampage 415, lamenting that Utah crowd snoozed on JDM's slick one-liner, at Yuza Handle accusing Jones of ducking Aspinall, and Barry Allen declaring that reality TV Jones equals retired Jones. Cue endless hashtags. Zan Sasher strip bones. Sianirm free Aspinall. Jaur mum MA never sleeps. Bookmakers recalibrated odds overnight. JDM opened a surprising 4-1 underdog against Islam, sparking debates on Dagestani chain grappling efficacy versus welterweight brickfist attrition. Data nerds on Reddit produced scatterplots comparing Islam's average top control time, 3:12 per round, to Jack's 87% takedown defense in his past 6 fights, while others argued intangible X factors like JDM's 5-inch reach advantage and Islam's proven cardio over 5 rounds in Abu Dhabi humidity. Old-school purists, meanwhile, mourned Aldo's exit by compiling highlight threads, slow-mo gifs of pulverizing calf kicks against Faber, the immaculate.
One guy that keeps talking about you also is Ilia Topuria. Do you have a message for him? He really wants to fight you next year.
No, man. I'm tired to give chance the small guys, you know. I need to...
double knee versus Cub Swanson in 8 seconds. The defiant grin when he sprawled on Chad Mendes like a panther, reminding newcomers why the King of Rio belonged on the featherweight Mount Rushmore alongside Holloway, Volkanovski, and perhaps someday Ilia Topuria. Television producers salivated. A champion from Western Australia versus a Dagestani maestro offered time zone neutral pay-per-view opportunities across Pacific, Asian, and European markets. Shoulder programming could splice outback surf training with mountain goat wrestling in Kizlyurt. Embedded crews envisioned mashups of JDM grilling kangaroo steaks, while Islam's team invoked ancient wrestling chants around fire pits. By Wednesday, conditioning coaches hashed periodization calendars. If the super fight landed in Abu Dhabi's Etihad Arena, both athletes would need acclimatization phases for desert heat. If Madison Square Garden beckoned during November's UFC flagship card, then altitude and travel recovery looked different. Sponsors lined up: Australian coffee roasters, Dagestani mineral water brands, crypto exchanges desperate for eyeballs, while fight kit designers doodled mashups of blue and white WA state emblems with Dagestani eagle crests. In gyms from Dublin to Denver to Durban, young amateurs shadowboxed, each punch carrying daydreams of stepping through fog-lit tunnels to replicate nights like this. Coaches looped footage of JDM's inside angle left hook and preached hip alignment. Others rewound Zahabi's disciplined jab to teach range management, while still others analyzed St. Dennis's suffocating body triangle to emphasize the power of diagonal hip pressure. All the while, the ghost of John Jones loomed. Would filming delays and visa snafus nudge the heavyweight megafight further into limbo, forcing the promotion to fabricate yet another interim belt, perhaps Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich II, eroding the meaning of undisputed yet again? Memes mocked the concept of a champion who has fought just once since February 2020, but older fans remembered how Jones thrived in chaos, traffic stop controversies, pulsing picograms, last-minute venue changes. So perhaps the reality show sojourn would merely fuel his next reinvention. Even within the UFC's glass-walled corporate HQ, the air crackled. Interns clipped Belfort soundbites for Hall of Fame montages. Accountants recalculated projected pay-per-view splits if Islam captured dual gold. PR reps drafted Portuguese press releases praising Aldo's legacy and Kyrgyz translations hailing Shevchenko's agelessness. And somewhere matchmaker Sean Shelby shuffled index cards like a riverboat gambler, searching for the domino that triggers the next viral cycle. Because that is the essence of MMA. It never stands still. Not for broken noses, not for retirement tears, not for coaching gigs in Siberia. One storyline is laid to rest, and 5 newborn arcs sprint forward, each demanding attention, each threatening to rewrite pound-for-pound hierarchies by the next full moon.